Hello, this is Photography Gamer, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing NBA 2K20 for the PS4. NBA 2K20 is a basketball game developed by Visual Concepts and published by 2K Sports. The game has one of the most extensive selections of game modes I've ever seen in any sports game. You can play exhibition games using the current NBA teams, the women's NBA, historical teams and all-time teams. You can also play street basketball, so make up your own little teams and go against the computer or other players. You have My League mode, which gives you the option to customize your own season, your playoffs or the franchise. You can even do an 80 season franchise mode and add new teams to the league, and the customization options for this are just absolutely fantastic. In particular, when you're creating a new team, you can choose their location, design the home, away and alternate uniforms. You can design the arena, even down to the colors of the court and the sounds made by the arena PA announcer during the game. If you like being creative and customizing sports games, this is right up there with Pro Evolution Soccer in terms of the customization options available to you. The detail even goes down to the off-season and the drafting of new rookie classes, which you can create or import from other people online. But if you just want to do a one-off season or just do the playoffs, you can do that in My League also. My Team mode is a bit like FIFA Ultimate Team, as in you build a roster of players and then take on other players online. This game mode gets a lot of heat online because it's actively encouraging microtransactions and virtual currency, but the game mode, it's not compulsory. You can play it if you want, you don't have to, but if you do play it, you don't have to buy the virtual currency, you can just play it without. But the virtual currency does speed things up for you. Personally, I didn't mind that mode, but I didn't buy the virtual currency. It's not the best mode in the game, but in my opinion, it's still worth playing. It's still pretty robust, pretty in-depth, and it's still a lot of good fun. One of the modes that I really recommend in NBA 2K20 is My Career. You start by creating your own unique player, and the character creator I'll go into in more depth later. Once you create your player, you enter like a 4 or 5 hour scripted story mode with gameplay in between to break it up. The gist is you're a 4th year college player who's trying to get into the NBA draft, and you get to experience what life is like for these young kids who see the bright lights of the NBA and what they've got to go through in order to actually make the NBA draft. The cutscenes are pretty well directed and they feature the excellent Idris Elba as the hardline old school coach. You also get guest appearances from the likes of Scottie Pippen and current players like LeBron. However, it might get annoying for players who just want to get into the game, but the prologue to your NBA career, it definitely gives you a fascinating insight into the world of basketball and other things like endorsements and the Summer League and things that most international NBA fans probably wouldn't even be aware of. Overall, it's a really good grounding for new players, and it makes you appreciate it when you do finally make it to the NBA and you do start playing against the big teams. So those are the main game modes, but what is the game actually like to play? Well, the last NBA 2K game I played was 2K14, so that's been a while, but has the gameplay evolved since then? Well, yes and no. To me, it feels pretty similar to the way it did several years ago, but I'd qualify that by saying that back then they had the gameplay pretty much down. It felt like basketball. The games have a really good ebb and flow, the tactical side of the game, the play calling, the timeouts, the variation of moves available to you, it all feels kind of realistic. It still has all those qualities, and it's hard for me to say the gameplay has changed, but that's not a bad thing. If it's not broken, don't fix it. When you shoot, you've got to release the button at the right moment, so it's like a power meter goes up, and if it goes green, that's the perfect shot, but you don't have to get a perfect connection to nail the shot. In terms of passing, you can pass just by facing a direction, or you can select one of the shoulder buttons and then isolate one of your individual teammates to pass to. The collision detection is also pretty good. It's not like you can just run through people. It's very difficult to actually get to the basket for a dunk. You've really got to work your spaces and use people for pick and rolls and that kind of stuff. The controls, they're pretty easy to learn, but they're difficult to master. Offense is a lot easier to learn, as most people will be able to drain a 3-pointer or drive to the hole for a dunk, but it's the other end of the court where the game offers a more in-depth challenge for gamers. Defending is difficult, especially when you're dealing with elite level players, because you really have to be disciplined and you have to stay with your man, otherwise they'll just find the open player and nail the jump shot. So it takes some time getting used to, but defending can be the most satisfying part of the game once you master it. There's nothing quite as satisfying as a steal or blocking a shot and then driving up the court for the finish. It really captured that sense of momentum on court and how the games can swing from one side to the other very quickly. So overall, the gameplay is excellent. It feels like a game of basketball. The game presentation is fantastic and it really feels like you're watching a live game at times. The arenas all look authentic, as do the uniforms and the player likenesses. The TV telecast feel is really well done and it's smooth, and most other sports games could really learn a lot from this kind of presentation. Finally, on the gameplay, NBA 2K20 has a lot of extra features within the main menus that are really worth pointing out. You can create your own rosters, you can move players around, or just create your own custom all-star team. You can create a unique draft class that you can import into the franchise mode. They even have historical draft classes you can use. The Create Player mode is fantastic, and it's one of the most complex and detailed in any current sports game. With enough time and patience, you could literally create anyone from yourself to any historical player that's not in the game. You can customize things down to the absolute finest detail, and the faces, the haircuts, the accessories available, there's so many to choose. So for anyone who likes creating players, this game is an absolute dream. Finally, on the customization, you can even create your own shoes. You can select from a variety of different brands and then just add layer after layer until you've got the favorite style that you want, and you can make so many shoes. It's really great fun making your own shoes in this game. It's a great addition because the NBA is really heavily embedded in the sneaker industry, and having the option to make your own is just really awesome fun, and it just adds more detail and more layers of depth to the character creation. The graphics on the whole are very good, however I wouldn't say that they're groundbreaking or the absolute top level. The players could have been a little bit more defined, but they do look good. It may be an area the game can improve in the next installment. The player animations are smooth and the game does look eerily realistic at times. Like if you took all the HUD options off and just had the telecast stuff on the screen, a passerby might mistake this for a live game. It does look that smooth. The arenas and the crowds all look great, and they add to the realism and the depth of the experience. And finally, the menus are very easy to navigate and they're very clear and concisely created. The menu music is well chosen and makes the team admin parts less tedious, as the overall sound quality of the game is really good. In particular, in-game commentary is ridiculously smooth, and it's so much better than FIFA or PES in terms of the relevance of what the commentators are actually saying. They even go into the fine detail of how many points each player has, or their shot percentage. It's those little details that really help you immerse into the experience. And other sports games could learn a lot about the presentation and the audio presentation of NBA. Finally, the voice acting in the cinematics in My Career are really well done, and obviously Idris Elba absolutely nails it as always. Okay, so what's good and what's bad? What's good? The game feels like a real game of basketball. The amount of game modes and the way you can customize them to suit your needs is second to none. The in-game commentary is the best in any sports game. The game has huge customization options for creating your own players, your own franchise, and even making your own shoes. The cinematics in My Career really open your eyes to how the NBA works and how these young men are trying to make it into the big leagues and what they've got to go through. You can play with as many teams in franchise mode as you like, so you and a friend can pick a team each and then build your own dynasties together and compete over season after season to try and, beat each other. It's one of my favourite game modes. The music choices on the whole are excellent. Overall, it's a hugely in-depth game with lots to do and customise. What's bad? The graphics are decent, but the players could have been crisper. Some modes are very microtransaction heavy, such as My Team mode, but you don't have to buy them, you don't have to play these modes even, and there are many other modes in the game that make it well worth playing, so it's not a deal breaker. The Women's NBA only has one season, so you can't do like a recurring franchise mode with the Women's NBA, so I'm sure they'll change that next year, but yeah, it's a bit limited. Okay, so what's the verdict? NBA 2K20 is an in-depth basketball sim with a huge amount of game modes, customization options, and some interesting story elements in the My Career mode. I've been a huge basketball fan since the early 90s, and I also used to play in college, so when I play NBA, I can tell you it really recreates that feeling of playing basketball for me. Not just on the court, but also the off the court stuff. There's lots of external things around the main game that make this feel more realistic. They've captured the razzmatazz and the showmanship of the game, but they didn't forget the fundamentals, and it's the fundamentals that make you keep coming back to a very enjoyable game of basketball. So my score for NBA 2K20 is 9 out of 10. The game feels like basketball, and that's really the most important thing to emphasize. As a sports simulation, it's as good as anything else out there. But it's the customization options, creative options, and also the way they tell the backstory to what it's like being a college student trying to make it into the NBA that gives this game a little extra something. Okay, that's the review done. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. This is Photography Gamer signing off. Thank you.